Hello everybody! A while ago I made a video about Wuthering Waves and I have talked about how much I dislike all of the tropes that they're using together with fan service because I've gotten used to the way that Infinity Nikki portrays women in a rather for women way, aka their design philosophy is very not fan servicey and accounts for women. And one comment that kept on coming up repeatedly was, you should try reverse 1999. I have previously also reviewed Life Makeover, so this is now gonna be my, fourth gacha that I'm gonna review? Wuthering Waves, Life Makeover, Infinity Nikki, reverse 1999. Let's start from the good points. I enjoy reverse 1999 plot and setup. The setup is that there's, for lack of a better word, two major organizations competing for members that can see, sense, or otherwise interact with this energy shift that comes along that kind of reverses time. And it's happening in increments, so chaos energy slash turmoil, however you want to call, reaches a critical mass in any given year. Then time reverses for a while, and then it starts running as normal again. And once again, the same situation repeats, with both organizations, both the one that you're set up to be against and the one that you're technically in as main character, which is called Timekeeper. They're kinda on the lookout for members that they can add to their roster. And both of these organizations are, that's Vertin, that's Timekeeper. Both of these organizations are portrayed in rather negative light, with Vertin's organization being portrayed in a slightly more positive light, but there's this kind of sense of secret keeping, and later you figure out that they kind of experiment with the people that they get, and anyone that doesn't meet their requirements they abandon. And the organization that you're directly up against is a very, very violent one that has no qualms in seemingly just disposing of their members. And even Vertin kind of getting into this other organization in, well, it was like story 1 and story 2, so like I'm at like, I stopped playing the game at chapter 2, so I don't have the full story, but Vertin's kind of forced to join Organization 2, and upon joining, the first command that she has to obey is to try and execute one of their own members. And there's like this whole thing on its own where it's a setup between Vertin and this girl that's supposed to get executed, so it doesn't quite come as planned, but they're not opposed to being violent to people that they feel don't quite fit the organization. So effectively, time is reversing in waves, and two major organizations are having beef with one another and trying to race against the time that is reversing in order to recruit members for their own cause, and their causes with the time reversing are entirely different. From Vertin's perspective, the first time time reversed was in 1999. From one of the off-brands of her organization, the perspective, what caused like the first time reversal was something that happened all the way at the point where butterflies started existing, so like even pre-human times, and one of them flapped their wings wrong or whatever and started creating chaos energy. So, and that eventually grew to a mass so bad that the time started reversing. So that is like the premise of the plot, and I will give praise to Reverse 1999. The plot premise really did hook me. I spent 9 hours playing this game. I wouldn't have if the plot premise did not hook me. I was very much invested. Secondly, the characterization of characters is actually pretty good and very diverse. By which I mean there are not only human characters, there's a playable apple. I had a toaster in my team, I'm pretty sure. Was it a radio? There was a satellite that I also had. I had a 5-star dog. So they go for all sorts of shapes and sizes. Together with a good premise, variety of different characters that really don't fit the tropes. Soundtrack is great. Voice acting is phenomenal. With my one and only complaint with the voice acting being that voice actors are great when they need to muse or meander or just talk about the plot. Voice actors don't come off as believable when there's highly emotional scenes where they would need to express fear, anger, scream, that sort of things. All those scenes come off as more muted than, in my opinion, they should come off of. So that would be my tiny bit of a complaint about that. Now, I did say that I only played 9 hours, and I am not gonna be really going back or playing any more of this game. And the reason why not is very similar gripes that I had with Life Makeover. The reason is very specifically that this is a gacha game, and I believe that if it was a purchasable visual novel,
can you stand up, Miss
with
Schneider?
DLC or
Both your
expansions
left leg are injured.
that would release, it would have done so much better as a game. So first of the problems with it being a gacha game is story costs energy to play through. The second problem is that the only story that costs energy to play through is the story with battles in it. So developers were incentivized to add battles where they don't belong. Like, you start the game, the first battle that you're gonna experience, I believe, outside of like the tutorial battle, was you survive time reversing while inside the suitcase, and some street kids have picked up the suitcase, so you come out of the suitcase in order to beat up the street kids. Yay! And then the second battle that you experience is you hide your suitcase in a tree, and critters is like a wide word for just kinda animals and ghosts and other non-human things in general that are kind of annoying in this game, but in this particular case, we mean things like squirrels get to your suitcase, and then a battle ensues against effectively squirrels. The game will add entirely unnecessary battles into a prolonged amount of story in order to get energy out of you. Because you don't have infinite energy. You only have that much energy to spend, and therefore you would either spend money or you have to come back at specific intervals. Yay! My third problem is that in order to speed me through the story, the game actually gave me quite a lot of energy. And normally this wouldn't be a problem. Normally this would be like, ooh, maybe I can catch up to other people. It gave me quite a lot of energy that expires after 10 days.
Where am I?
I am not in a place in my life where I can be like, okay, let me put everything on hold in order to binge play this. And in order to take use of that energy and get myself through story, I would have needed to binge play this. Now, without upgrades or replaying the story, you can get up to chapter 2, effectively. At chapter 2, the story started matching my level, and I either needed a bigger team because you need to really well match your team's elements against enemy teams in order to beat them, which means getting pulls and pulling for characters, or I would have needed to grind in order to raise my character's level above the 30 level cap.
Thank you for wiping the mud off my face.
After that point, you have to spend energy in order to grind, in order to upgrade your characters, in order to progress in those levels. I think up to like level 60, you can do that.
Who says I'm
But that would have taken quite a lot of time, and obviously it would have taken quite a lot of energy.
just climb up
The
here,
game
take a small
has
jump.
automatic battling, which is so bizarre. Like, the game will play itself for you if you want it to do so. In my opinion, that kind of just cheapens the feel of the gameplay, because your original gameplay is a bit like a puzzle of where you're trying to find the right combination of abilities against the enemies in order to stay alive and beat the fight. And that's like the majority of the gameplay. So when the game takes that away, it's a bit weird. But I suppose it's done so that you don't need to grind through things hands-on. But here's the thing, I'm not really in favor of grinding like this. I feel like when your story is gated like this, it gets very, very frustrating. The fact that the game wanted me to binge play everything in about 10 days just added to that frustration. Another thing, if this game was in a visual novel format, where you just purchased the game to play through the story, it wouldn't have the disconnect between the team that you're playing the battles through and the story. Because here's the thing, there's a pirate girl, there's an apple, there's a girl that summons Vertine/Timekeeper for her help, and that makes up like the main group of your people for at least chapter 1 and I think at least part of chapter 2. So there's like 4 very prominent characters, out of which the girl that summons Vertine for help and the apple are playable characters in battles. But for example, we just come up to a battle screen. The game, in order to catch me up, gave me a lot of pulls and expected me to pull on a specific newbie banner, and then expected me to pull on there's like a special promotion where your first 10 pulls on a limited banner will guarantee you 1 5-star character. Characters go up to 6 stars in this game, but the lowest that you can get is 2-star characters, so 5-star is pretty not bad, especially when I'm just trying to engage in story content. I didn't even have like all that many 5 stars. I don't know if I had any 6 stars really, but I don't know. Maybe the dog was the 6-star? I don't remember. But anyway, the important characters are 4 stars, 5 stars, and 6 stars in this gacha. Now, the issue is, in the story, right now, in this moment, while this battle is taking place, I'm playing Vertine, which is the timekeeper. I don't have as a character that can actually do battles. So when a battle comes up, she apparently summoned a dog, a toy, and a Russian man. Who is this Russian man? I have not a bloody clue. What is the significance of the dog? I don't know. I don't know. Where does she pull these people from, especially while she's isolated from her teammates and she is talking with what effectively up to this point was the enemy side? Not a bloody clue. If this was a visual novel, you would be performing this battle as Vertine. Or, in a lot of cases, you wouldn't be performing battles at all. Mainly because a lot of these battles, once again, they feel like they were made to prolong the game time. to allow you some place to grind materials, and that's about it. It felt kind of like the forced styling segment at the end of Life Makeover's like chapters, where something dramatic is happening, and then your main character takes out a phone and goes, "Okay, time for my styling," and then she does like her styling battle. This feels like that, like, and now we fight. Why? There is a bit of a reason, but most of those reasons, like 60% of them, are not actually strong enough to be proper reasons, where battle wasn't quite all that necessary. Together with that, the story loves to meander. So, I am using characters that I don't feel personally engaged with because I am nowhere near the chapter where they appear. I don't know anything about them, and I would love to be able to play the characters that are near and dear to my heart, the ones that I have already gotten to know, but that's not the case. If I want to beat this game, I'm playing the characters that I don't know anything about. I'm playing through battles that, for the most part, are about 80% unnecessary. There are some battles that are very necessary, that are very, like, big points of the plot, but a lot of them aren't. A lot of them could just, like, cease to exist. But on top of that, instead of just, like, being a one clear plot line, where the game hooks you in with a premise of what happened in 1999 that started turning the time back, what is the purpose of Manus, that group of the people on the Foundation that are looking at, like, original butterfly theory, how are they doing? Instead of, like, being very straightforward and investigating that, you will oftentimes meander into plot points that didn't need to be there and don't actually contribute to the overall feel of the plot. Oftentimes you will also get exposition in map, because before you can progress story chapter 2.1 to story chapter 2.2 to 2.3 and so on, they will make you do tutorial battles, or they will make you do like little bits of exposition where you can like learn a bit of a trickle about specific characters. The thing is, I didn't quite need a bit of a trickle about a specific character at that point, because I'm not really at a point where I would be naturally engaged with them and engaged into their backstory. They will pop in and pop out of the plot, or perhaps they just are gonna appear quite later, but I get like little bit of trickle of their story. I get like completely random meanderings. I get characters that don't quite connect, or connect very strongly only to like side character A or B. I will once again get things like, oh no, our handbag is getting like their suitcase is getting jostled by some squirrels. So it's like, let's go and fight them. Or like, oh no, one of the characters actually didn't stay put and ran away, and she's still in your suitcase, but she's like in a completely different spot of the suitcase that you haven't quite explored yet. And oh no, there's like this forest that we're randomly walking through. Oh yeah, it's like a little bit haunted, so like we definitely need to like fight the ghosts here. And then like the apple gets heebie-jeebies from the ghosts, and I do believe that he gets like poisoned. And then there's like a setup where you think that the servants are stealing the gold, but the servants are not stealing this posh lady's gold. And then there's like this whole subplot of, because we're so close to like time reversing again, there's weird symptoms, and in this case it's people confusing money for gold, money for food, and they just throw away the food, but they try to eat like liquefied metal, and that's gonna put a lot of people into hospital. But like, there's like a lot of these weird little tiny subplots that didn't quite need to be there, and it meanders enough that after you finish a chapter, you feel quite unfulfilled, because you're nowhere near closer to actually achieving the original premise that the game sets up when you start playing it, which is what happened in year 1999. You're nowhere near closer to that. You're just like deeper into tiny mini dramas. And unless you needed to bide for time,
Not now.
or make the game more mysterious, involve more characters so that people can pull for them, or prolong the time that people spend on your game, or have battles in order to waste energy, or because you just wanted to write like 3-minute short stories instead of story from A to B. Anyway, a lot of these problems, they apply to phone gacha games, they don't apply to games.
Where I go.
So what I'm trying to say is that if Reverse 1999 was a visual novel, it would be a bloody good one. Because a lot of that probably wouldn't exist. And you would be playing with characters that make sense for the story. For example, Druvis is on the mana side, which is the enemy side. The Start a New banner involves Druvis. I pulled her earlier than I got to this point. Druvis, which I haven't even met, has been fighting with me for quite a lot of chapter 1, where she wasn't even in. And now I meet her, and it's not even clear if she's like friendly to you or antagonistic. But like, we meet her, but she's also in your pocket. Could I cast Druvis on Druvis? Could I like be like, Pokeball, go! And there's like a copy of her, and she would be like, what the fuck?
Seen around the corner ahead, and we're out.
It takes me out so much. And it wouldn't
What's that shadow?
if it wouldn't be a gacha. So the reason why I'm not gonna be playing Reverse 1999 is because it's a gacha, effectively. Which is funny, because I'm very involved with Infinity Nikki, but Infinity Nikki is kind of based on the more Genshin-esque model, where because it's an open world, you are allowed to play through the story freely. The story is not the thing that costs energy. Whole bunch of other things do.
Let the Manus know where we are going.
Not that I am a fan of energy mechanics in general.
Let's make it fast.
But it kind of comes with the category of being a gacha. So this gacha, is so incredibly promising if it wasn't a gacha, but it is. And 9 hours in, I started hitting the point where I'm like, okay, this is at least the first grind cliff. Where if I want to continue pushing through the story, which doesn't feel satisfying, because once again it meanders a lot, so I don't really feel like, ahaha, so many things got resolved, I feel so much fuller after doing that whole chapter. No, you don't really get that feeling, so in order to push myself through that story, I would need to begin grinding and upgrading characters that I don't particularly care about because I haven't even met them yet. I looked at that and went, this is a depressing use of my time, I don't want to do that. Which is a shame, because, once again, the premise is involving, it doesn't have the same tropes as other gachas do, and I'm very thankful about that. The setting is rather new and interesting. It starts off being set in Britain, so that's kind of cool. The voice acting is great for the most part, outside of voice actors needing to be very emotional, which doesn't seem to work out very well, or at the very least not to a level that I would expect them to be in specific scenes. The music is fantastic. The atmosphere is fantastic. So I understand why it has a lot of positive reviews on Steam and why it has a loyal fan base. And I would be one of them if this was a regular visual novel and not a gacha. But because this is a gacha, and it started off with the elements that I hated, and if I wanted to pass through like the first grind hurdle, I would need to engage in gameplay that would feel depressing to me, I have decided that the best thing that I can do is to be like, well, that's enough. Close the book, put it away, and never look at it ever again. I'm not gonna leave a negative review on Steam, because it's a gacha. The only problem that this game has, really, is that it is a gacha. Everything negative about it is being driven by the fact that it is a gacha. So it would be very unfair for me to be negative towards it. But if anyone is watching here that's from the company in any way, listen, you do a proper visual novel with this premise, or you do any kind of other short game with this premise that can allow me to play through the story without meandering with characters that I feel personally attached to, I'm your customer. Like, I don't care what kind of spin-off you make, as long as it's not a gacha. You can put it like a £20 game, £30 are now acceptable for visual novels. I'm your customer. I'll come back, I'll buy it, I'll play through all of it, I'll review it. I know that that's not how you plan to make money, and that gacha is probably a lot more profitable, but just in case you would ever plan to do that, I'm your customer. I would gladly come back and play through that imaginary product, and I would gladly like review it and engage with it, and I think that would be a lot of fun. But this is not it. And this is why it's not it. So I would say Reverse 1999 probably gets an 8 out of 10 for a gacha game if I completely remove all annoyances that are so annoying to me because it is a gacha game. But personally, for me, I would score it at probably 4 out of 10, and I will put it down and will never revisit it ever again, because it's trying to rush me. Because if I don't rush, I don't get to use all of my energy refills. It's making me play with characters that I'm not engaged in because I haven't met them yet. It's meandering in its story, and it's trying to waste my time. So all of these things kind of connected being a gacha, hence why it's not a game for me. So if you've left the comment of, have you tried Reverse 1999 from Wuthering Waves, thank you for recommendation, but now I have, and this is my opinion of it. So I hope I haven't, like, ruffled any feathers with this. It wasn't my intention to, and like I said, I'm not gonna be like reviewing it on Steam. I'm not gonna be like, it's a gacha, negative review. Like, I knew that it was a gacha coming in. It's just that some gachas allow you to play through its story without, like, requiring you to spend energy on the story, and those are the kind of gachas that I'm a lot more likely to play, because I can play through the story, and the story is the thing that I care about. Which you can't do in this one, so it's getting on my nerves just like that bit more than what would be normal. So no hate if you like this, I understand why, but this is not something that I can play. That would be my review of 1999. If you feel like this is the kind of thing that you're seeking out, just like type into search bar on Steam Reverse 1999 and it will take you to a page and you will be able to install it for free. It's quite generous when it comes to free-to-play players, so like it does, as I said, it has a new banner, it provides you with one 6-star character, it allows you to like choose another like highly starred character, and also your first 10 pulls unlimited banner when I was playing would guarantee another 5-star character. So like you can build up a team as a free-to-play fairly early on, and the game obviously was trying to rush me with giving me all that energy. So you will probably have enough energy to like explore the full storyline, presumably. It's just that the fact that that energy expires after 10 days, and I can't binge play something like this. From the reviews that I noticed, some people have played like 100 hours. So I can't like binge play 100 hours in 10 days. That is not a realistic game amount for me. Therefore, I can't use what the game is offering me in order to speed me up as a noob, effectively. And that was like another problem. I feel like I'm going in circles, so look, if you think that it's for you, go on Steam, install it. It's pretty weird. I think you might like it. For me, 4 out of 10, not touching it again the same way I'm not touching Life Makeover. There are just too many elements of gacha in it that I heavily dislike. And that's that. That's my book closed. So thank you so much for my Patreon supporters that allow me to meander and spend 9 hours investigating a game like this. Thank you so much for all the people that earnestly recommended this title, because it is quite an interesting and unique title, and I do believe that it deserves to actually be recommended. And thank you all, everyone here that has watched for so long. I hope I'm gonna see you on my other videos. Toodaloo for now.